A week and a half ago, it was, well, maybe Giannis is a better Robin than a Batman. And then what did we watch in the NBA Finals? Is he went off for 50 points and really addressed everything that everybody, like, we went from having conversations about the serious limitations to Giannis's game to stepping back and saying, holy cow, even when the whole world knows what he's doing, how he's trying to do it, he still does it. And so I think part of this legacy conversation has to start with understanding how good Giannis is, particularly because that matters when we're putting context around the Bucks in this championship.
But also we had to put him in the right category about what he is, right? See, we were trying to put him in a category with the KDs, with the big wings and the stretch fours and all that type of stuff, right? Because we were seeing him as like a power forward. He's a center, right? He's just an athletic, in shape, center. Right? And so now when you say, okay, he's more like Shaq, and everybody's like, oh, he's like a modern-day Shaq. Now we can appreciate him because we didn't expect Shaq to hit 18-footers. We didn't expect Shaq to shoot great from the free throw. We expected Shaq to put in buckets, be physically dominant, dunk on people, and block and protect the rim. And that's exactly what Giannis does. When you put it in that context, then you can appreciate what he is. Because his body looks good, you expect him to do more because he's 7 foot and he looks like KD, but he'll never be KD because KD's in a whole nother bracket. He's his own unicorn. But Giannis is like the Loch Ness Monster.
I just want to imagine a zoo that you walk into that has a bunch of unicorns and you don't like this one. Because Giannis, you're right, is like a totally different unicorn. Oscar Robertson, a Hall of Famer, was on an incredible show on ESPN Radio known as Spain and Fitz, which you can listen to from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday.
No, that's a great show. That's a great show.
Thank you very much. This is what Oscar had to say about Giannis and the legacy.
It's been said about Giannis, he's this, he's that, he's so great. But they haven't been to a final. They get beat every year in one of these rounds and whatnot. Now he shut all that up. They can't say that anymore about him. Now he goes on to, hey, people want to know, can you win again? People are never satisfied, to be honest. I mean, even though they had a great year, they overcame a lot of adversity. But now they say, well, what about next year?
I mean, he's 26 years old, two-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and an NBA Finals MVP, and a champion. Like, at this point, I think it's important to recognize it because the other part of the conversation about what Milwaukee did, Bart, is does it open up sort of the floodgates to everybody else in the NBA to look around and say, wait, we can do it that way too. Like, let's just draft and grow and be patient. We don't have to go out and do it the way the Lakers have done it or the way that Brooklyn was trying to do it. Does it open that door?
First of all, I want to address like the big O, right? Understand that you are what we say you are until you're not, right? We've heard that about all the great players. So, I mean, if he want to put himself in a great category, he's going to hear the criticism, right? LeBron heard the criticism all the way back from when he passed and didn't take the big shot and gave it to Danielle Marshall, right?
Right.
He had to hear that, right? But, like, I think when you think about where he is right now and what the bar is, people are never satisfied because the great players get way more than one. We talk about Bill Russell with 11. We talk about Michael Jordan with 6. We talk about LeBron with 4, Tim Duncan with 5, Kobe with 5. So if you want to be put into that room, that special room, like the high rise, it's only a certain level that you really get to go up to in the Hall of Fame, and it's reserved for the best of the best, right? The 1% of the 1%. I don't even know if that's possible. You know what I'm saying? I got an associate's degree, but the fact that Giannis has put himself in the conversation. But I don't think that he'll ever win another one. I think every once in a while, like I say all the time, a broken clock is right twice a day, right? And when you think about it, you can get away with being patient like that in that market. You can't be paid. Nobody, no other markets. It depends on where you're at. Location to location, location. Right? A place like Milwaukee has to be satisfied and happy that they have a star because they're a small market team. So they're embracing it and they're patient with them because they know they don't have a lot of options. There's not a lot of people banging the door down and say, hey, I want to be a free agent. I want to sign with Milwaukee.
Oh, but I'm going to push back on that.
Well, please do.
You know I will. I mean, at some point, you got to look at it and say, what did we just see? I mean, the Deer District, 60,000 people outside.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's willing to pay.
What else you going to do in Milwaukee?
I happen to like Milwaukee a lot. It's a fun city, Bart.
I'm sure it's a great place, but I ain't never going to visit. Like, hey, kids, get in the car. We're going to fly to Milwaukee.
You got to open up your mind, man. Like the Calderon Club, good restaurant, good Italian food. The bar scenes are good. Summerfest is the best music festival maybe in the world. It's in Milwaukee. It's a week long. Let's go, Bart. There's a lot to Milwaukee. But if you're a free agent, you're looking at it and saying, okay, I know Giannis is going to be there. I know he's going to be there for a long time.
Yeah.
And I know that they paid him, and he's willing to stay there, and he can do single-handedly what he just did. Now, I know that all of the stars had to align in some ways.
Right.
But you're presuming that going into next year that Brooklyn's just going to suddenly be healthy. I don't know how we make that presumption. Like that seems like that's a big, like, you have to give Brooklyn benefit of the doubt there and not give benefit of the doubt to Milwaukee and their ability to keep growing. Like, this is a 26-year-old Giannis.
It's the law of averages, right? It's the law of averages. Every once in a while, we see a non-super team, win something, and we applaud them like it's the Dirk Nowitzkis of the world, right? It's the Ben Wallace and Chauncey Billups-led Pistons. But more often, we see the dynasties. We see the mini dynasties. If you look at who's been in the NBA Finals like the last 20 years, it's the usual suspects, right? And you look at the history, it's normally the same organizations and franchises that win titles, and every once in a while, it's a blip here, like with Houston, a sneak too. But usually when it's windows, those windows are open for a long time, and then they're closed, right? I don't know if how long this window is open for Milwaukee, because we know that Philly's going to get better and they're going to make some big moves. We know that Brooklyn is there. We know LeBron is coming back. We know the teams in the West. Like, this was the right timing in the right situation for them to take advantage. That's why it's so disheartening that Chris Paul couldn't get his title, because that window for a small market team, the non-LeBrons, the non-Currys, the non-KDs were open, and he missed it. Now you got to go back to maybe Cliff Paul should have showed up, for the Game 7.
I'm just going to keep going back to something Monica McNutt, our ESPN NBA analyst, said to me when I was here a couple of weeks ago. And she said, look, we got to stop looking at the stars we're used to and understand that there's a group of rising stars that are capable of doing what we just saw. And as much as we talk about, hey, LeBron and AD could get healthy and the Clippers could finally figure out how to not be the Clippers, and Brooklyn might be able to get healthy, which also presumes that James Harden won't blow a big game like he's done many times in his career. Like, we look at all.
James Harden is who he is until he's not, right? So we were talking about Giannis the same way. Oh, he's so great, but he has no basketball acumen.
But the difference is Giannis is 26. Harden's not 26. Like, Giannis is still developing who he is in his story.
See, but this is different. See, and this is what you're talking about, right? Like, when you think about Giannis's dominance, I think his window is a lot shorter than a player like KD or like Harden, because their skill set and their basketball acumen is so well. Like, to me, Giannis is a stretched out Russell Westbrook, right? And what happens when he loses that athleticism, like all players do, his shelf life and his ending is going to be like a supernova. It's going to be beautiful. It's just not going to last long.